Hello and welcome to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Today is April 4th, 2021, and this is episode 261. The Swamp Thing is what we're looking at today. This is 2 of 10 on this arc. It comes from DC Comics, and on the cover we've got scientist Levi Kamei. With some kind of weird shadowy things above him. I believe this is probably the pale wanderer that he is finding in the desert. But we'll get into that in just a minute. Just saying that this is a recommend. This is getting the good excavating seal of approval. And let's take a look at it. Let's talk about who worked on it first of all. The writer on this is Ram V or Ram 5. I'm not sure if it's Ram V. I don't know if it's a brother to, or Ram 5. I don't know if it's a brother to Saturn 5 or Maroon 5. I don't know, but he's doing a great job on this. Mike Perkins is the artist, and he's doing a fantastic job. I don't know if he's using photorealism on this, that type of thing, bringing photos in and then drawing over them or something like that, but it's just wonderful. Mike Spicer has got this nice touch on the colors, and Aditya Bidikar is the letterer. Okay, Swamp Thing was created by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson. So let's get into it. If you recall, Levi had quite the experience back. I believe he traveled back to India to see his dying father one last time and say goodbye. And his father actually forgave him during that period. Since he's left there, he's had these horrible nightmares. He fell asleep on the plane in the first issue. He thought he had turned to the Swamp Thing and had taken down the plane, but it was just a dream. But he's been staying with a friend, Jennifer. I guess it's a former girlfriend, and she's a scientist. And so she wants to take a look at closer what's going on with him because he's been having these nightmares every night when he's staying with him. He's also being followed by a group from the Prescott Industries, and for some reason, and I think that might be the original corporation that was very interested in the Swamp Thing way back when. But they've got a photographer following him. I guess it's supposed to be a private eye. But let's get into this. This is one of his dreams. He dreams he's in Central Park quite often. He's popping out there. As you can see, there's almost like an umbilical cord coming from a tree into him at this point. But he's also appearing, or in his dream, he's appearing in deserts out in Arizona. So this is the next day, and he's talking to his girlfriend and telling her about what's going on in his dreams. And she kind of doesn't believe him. She wants to run tests on him and whatnot. But we get a quick blurb he tells her about the pale wanderer he sees. It's some kind of, almost, it's like an urban legend about this man that went out to seek his fortune right around after the Civil War. He tried to gold mine, he tried oil, and he ended up just being kind of a hermit, going insane, and they think he's still out there in one form or another, terrorizing. And in this case, in the first issue, he did kill a few people. So in Levi's dream, he's got specific information about what he dreamed about the murders and whatnot. And he goes on the crime tracker. He's in New York right now, so he's tracking this. And he's finding out, yes, these things indeed are happening out in Arizona. So the Pale Wanderer is trying to induce Swamp Thing into becoming something like himself. And so far, Swamp Thing has been resisting. So then we get this nice spread here with the titles. But what's really cool about it is you get like almost 6 pages of information, right, 5 or 6 pages right on this 2-page spread with the titles. It kind of moves the story along. There's other incidents since that first one that he had run across with the human traffickers. There's like a boy at a campsite that disappears. There's a woman that disappears. She's actually killed by the pale wanderer, so to speak. And he's dreaming these. He's seen these consecutive nights of all these things that are happening. So Levi's very concerned, obviously, as we get the death metal trades ad here. And 0 point, whatever that'll be, if it's Fortnite. So see how that turns out. So they're back in New York, and they're on the balcony talking, and of course there's the photographer, the private detective, taking pictures of them together as they discuss their plan of action. And she basically talks Levi into letting her do tests on him. Meanwhile, it's like the next night in Aztec Town, Arizona, and the sheriff who escaped because Swamp Thing showed up in the first issue, he's there talking to a friend, and he's telling him this thing's real. He says, and the other guys say, no, it's an urban legend. He's going, no, I got to figure this out. I got to stop this guy if it's the last thing I do. And he's an old 63-year-old sheriff, beaten down. You know, his personal life is in shambles, and he wants to take care of this as his last thing before he leaves Earth, at least. And the Pale Wanderer seems to be taunting him, in fact. So the sheriff leaves the bar. He goes out to where he thinks the Pale Wanderer may be found. And I don't know if he's just guessing or what at this point. But in the meantime, Levi's in his dreams, back in his dreams, and he's dreaming of his father. His father's letting go, and this puts Levi off again, back into the desert, the barren desert at night, and he's looking for the Pale Wanderer. Meantime, the sheriff has actually come across. The sheriff's having a little too much to drink here. He starts shooting his gun, and the Pale Wanderer shows up amidst all these fires that he has set up, a ring of fire to protect himself. But it doesn't stop the Pale Wanderer at all. And just as the Pale Wanderer is going to jump in and kill the sheriff, Swamp Thing arrives and is able to stop the Pale Wanderer and let the sheriff make a break for it eventually. You can see him kind of off the side here, watching these two go at it, going back and forth. And the Swamp Thing's able to get inside the Pale Wanderer and kind of blow him up, so to speak. And in doing so, he starts creating this huge tree. You can see the sheriff running from this tree in the desert. And this tree just goes crazy big. So I'm assuming it's the metamorphosis of the Swamp Thing's vision and the actual Pale Wanderer that has created this huge banyan tree. I think they call it a Bengalese banyan tree. And then you can see the sheriff just can't even believe it. It's the middle of nowhere. And the next day, Levi's in a good mood. He's just like, oh, everything feels good, you know. And then they start watching the TV, and they see this big banyan tree in the background on the TV there. And then they notice that there's helicopters everywhere. The military's there checking it out because it is an anomaly that just suddenly appeared. The sheriff is there being checked out by the paramedics. The news crews are there. And we find out that Batman is also watching this change of events from his Bat Cave. So I guess Batman's going to become involved in this, which is pretty cool. We go back to Prescott Industries, and they are viewing the same anomaly from their headquarters, and they're also looking at the file of Levi. And this is where we end the story for now, Into the Green. It is a recommend, like I said. Really quickly, here's some other ads. The next Batman, Second Son, #1. I believe this came out today. The writer on this is John Ridley. I did not pick this up. And then you have Batman Detective #1, a little interview with Tom Taylor and Andy Kubert, an ad for Superman and Lois, and then an ad for the Kubert School, and this is on penciling, very basic penciling, what the penciler does. Okay, take a look at that real quick. So this is a recommend, It also gets the good good excavating seal of approval from Indie Comics Jones, of course. If you haven't already, please like, please subscribe, please leave comments. I appreciate you stopping by and checking out this review. I've got 12 more comics this week to review. Oh my God, this is like a huge week. I just finished reviewing the final chapter of King in Black, number 5, just before this, and this is the second of 10 for this one. So I've got a few more to go. Obviously, I think up next I'm doing, I think it's something called Geiger, but I think it's an Image Comics. So we'll check that one out next. So please stop by. As always, this is Indie Comics Jones from the Temple of Tomes bidding you adieu.